Going live.
Good evening. Welcome to the Wiley and Will Show, better known as Follow Me. We're glad that everybody could be with us again tonight. We're always very thankful for people who take their time out to come be with us. As you can see, we're still practicing our social distancing. We're 6-ish away. We're just trying to bring out a good message and, create some feedback and just some communication with brethren around the world, and during these tough times and all the things that we're going through personally. If you've not read our disclaimer before, just know that anything that comes out of this podcast is purely based on mine and Will's how we feel and our opinion. We're not sanctioned by any Grand Lodge or anything, even though we do belong to the Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons in the state of Georgia. We're just two brother Masons who want to sit here and just chat back and forth with you guys. And in reality, we just want to, we're missing Freemasonry and we've got to do something. All of us are shut in. We know with the COVID-19 virus, we've hit epidemic proportions. The numbers went well over 1 million worldwide today, and death is going to be massive in the United States and continue around the world. But when we're talking to lose between 100,000 and 500,000 really in human life just in the United States. So hope everybody stayed safe, they're sheltered in place, and those of you who are essential, we hope that you're safe in your essential environment, and thank you for all you do for our healthcare workers and first responders, our police force who has to keep working during all this, and we thank you all. And we know a lot of Masons are involved in paramedic and EMT and first responder duties, and doctors and
Truck drivers.
Yes, you truck drivers, you keep the big wheels rolling, baby. You keep bringing all the stuff back to us. People don't understand that without the trucker, the world doesn't move.
Absolutely not.
So, anyway, that's Worst Brother Will, and I'm Worst Brother Wiley. And tonight we're going to talk about, since essential is a new word, we're going to talk about is Freemasonry essential. Now, this is going to be a deep topic.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun tonight. Before I get started tonight, I want to definitely thank everyone. Tuesday, so 2 days ago when we started, we had 109 subscribers when we started the stream. Tonight when we went live, we had 211. We are floored by the response of the brethren out there, and the messages that Worship Brother Wiley and I get are phenomenal. We can't thank you all enough. We're glad everyone's enjoying this. We enjoy putting it together. And tonight's question, and we want the audience, our audience here, to chime in. Is Freemasonry essential? Is Masonry essential? Put down your views down there. We'll hit on the ones we can. We'll talk about some points we've got tonight. And we just want to get your views on, is it essential? And why do you think it's essential? So without further ado, we'll let the preacher over here start preaching.
Well, I promise that I won't get like last week. I mean, we're going to be really serious tonight. This is a serious topic, and we're in some really tough times right now. And if you're a manager or leader or owner of a company, furloughing or laying off your employees, losing things that you've spent years developing that have just been taken away by this deadly disease that's going along right now. So over the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've heard that all the new word is, are we essential or not? Seems like every catastrophic event that has happened in the world at any time in history, there's always some coined phrases, coined words, things that will always associate with that time period in history. We know 9/11, and we associate as Americans what happened on 9/11, on September 11, 2001. If any person mentions 9/11, they automatically think about the Twin Towers coming down. The world was on lockdown.
Where you were, what you were
what
doing.
you were doing exactly that particular night or that morning while we were all working. So in this catastrophic event, essential has become the word, whether we like it or not. My wife says that Will and I are wearing our matching shirts tonight, so we're doing that in honor of worshipful brother Mike Wilson. He's past Grandmaster in 2018-19, and we wanted to honor him tonight. So good evening, everybody. We're so glad that you're joining us. But anyway, we're talking about essential and being essential. That's the new coined word. So we know that word's been around forever.
Right.
You know, you have your essential needs. These are essential items when you go to the grocery store and things of that nature. So now all of you guys who are watching tonight, you've had to reevaluate your life to figure out what's essential. You know, whether it be your clothes or your food or your housing situations, your job situations, things of that nature. Your essential things are what you're looking for now. Okay? So, you know, we got to ask each other as Masons, is Freemasonry essential in today's society? You know, I was talking to a good brother, a well-respected brother here in the state of Georgia, and we were having a conversation just last week, and he said, you know, Worst Brother Wiley, when all this ends, what's going to be our new normal?
Normal, what's normal?
Normal, exactly. After 9/11, we all know that our normal changed. You know, what we did traditionally, how we operated our lives changed purely based on the events that took place in 9/11. So now here we are in this catastrophic event. What will the new normal be? Where will Freemasonry find its place in the new normal? You know, we spent, you know, I umpire baseball for little boys and been doing it for a long time. People are so wrapped up in paying for travel ball, think they're getting better baseball just because of that. That became their new normal. Mm-hmm. Now everybody wanted to play travel ball. Well, now with people not being able to afford that kind of thing for travel ball, now they're going to be back to playing regular recreation baseball like they should. You know, so as far as the new normal, we're probably not going to know what the new normal is till later in the year, probably
2021 even.
Maybe 2021. I mean, Will, you know as well as I do how the normal changes, and when it does, it takes a while to get to the new normal. Mm-hmm. So when we put that in perspective about what is the new normal, you know, I spend my every day trying to figure out how I'm going to keep people employed. You know, what positivity can I bring to the world today, even though I may be at my worst and I may be experiencing a lot more stress than what they, you know, the regular employee may have going on, you know? So it's just, what is the new normal, and are we going to be essential? That's the big topic for tonight. And what we want to ask all of our folks is, as Masons, we made certain obligations to each other. You know, in this forum, we won't talk about what those are, but we as Masons should understand it doesn't matter what state or country you come from, your obligations are basically the same for all Masons wherever they are around the world. So we all made those commitments to one another and to ourselves. Mm-hmm. You know, we did promise that we would look in on certain people, that we would always continue to love each other. We hope that during your initiation and your passing and raising, that during that time that you were able to absolve some of the the meanings of some of the obligations that we took, and not just say, oh, it was a bunch of words that we said, but it's a lifestyle. So that makes us essential. Mm-hmm. Because the lessons I learned in Freemasonry, they're really a next building block in the foundation of my life that was established by my mom and my grandparents and things like that. But to be able to carry those things and pass them along to other people.
Right.
So,
one of the things that happened, the members of my lodge, my little lodge, reached out to me a few nights ago and said, hey, we want to get together as a lodge. You're a tech guy. How can you help us get brethren together so we can just see each other and visit? We haven't been able to meet for a month. So I set up a little thing on Amazon Chime, which is another one of those things like Zoom or Cisco WebEx or anything like that. I set us one up and we sent it out to all the members of our lodge. We had brethren on last night that we haven't seen in a long time because their jobs, their other obligations they have. And it was fantastic not only to get together with those brethren we had seen recently, but also those brethren who moved out of state. Mm-hmm. Hadn't been able to make it in a while. Got to see them and talk to them and just chat amongst ourselves. Because when you come together as a lodge, they're your family. And you miss them when you don't get to see them. So in that aspect, I think we're learning a new normal by using the tools that the internet and web afford us by getting together with our brethren. And what we did last night in my lodge, I think more lodges should do it. I know a lot of lodges are doing it. But even when we go back to normal or quasi-normal, we should still do those during our off days. I think it's cool to get together with those brethren who can't make it on a regular lodge night because they have other obligations or other things to do. I believe truly and wholeheartedly that Masonry is essential, even when we can't perform our rituals and have our meetings, that the brotherhood, the fraternity, what we do for our communities, like some of you said, is absolutely, positively essential. And if we quit doing what we're doing, we're going to darken the world. I think we do a lot more good than a lot of people realize. I know a lot of you brethren know what we do. A lot of you that aren't Masons may not know everything we do, but we're still out there trying to help the elderly. We're trying to help our elder members. We're trying to help our wives, our widows, the orphans. I know that our question came up on Tuesday about where are our kids from the children's home. I found out they're all at Shellman's Bluff. They figured that was the safest place for them to be. They got them out of the home and they got them all out there instead of sending them home for spring break. They're homeschooling the kids. They're taking care of them and things are good for them. So we know our kids are safe. But it's those things that happen in the background that a lot of us, sometimes we tend to forget. Sometimes we think about it at odd times. But rather than all these things we do are always going to be essential, whether we can do them face to face or whether we do them via a phone call, a podcast, a vodcast, whatever. You drive by someone's house, you drop off a little bag on their porch, knock on their door, and go about your business. You dropped off a gallon of milk because someone needed it. Those things are essential. So I believe that Masonry is still perfectly essential in this day and age.
Absolutely. What we should all realize too, that we may lose many members all around the world in Freemasonry, but what we may lose, we may lose more to death in this event than probably at any other time. A wartime would be a good analogy for this. But just know that we don't know what we're going to lose. We know that we need to be at the forefront. We need to keep enticing our brethren to make sure that they're loved and they're respected, and that we need them in our lodges when our lodges do open. But you're brethren need you now more than ever. A lot of folks are shut in. They can't go anywhere. If they do, it's to the store. I love my darling wife, but there's just sometimes I need to get out of the house and go, and you get caught up together. You're spending all that time and this and that and the other, and that contrary to popular belief, a lot of marriages have been saved by Freemasonry. Gives somewhere for the brother to go and get out of the wife's hair so she don't kill him. So, and that's just it's just a small analogy, but
not all of us have that problem.
Not every. Well, and I love my wife dearly. She's a good sport. She takes a lot of flack from me, but that's just because it is. But anyway. Well, we won't know what those numbers are and what kind of number hits it took to all of our Grand Lodges until this thing starts weaning itself out. I mean, we won't know the end result of this for years. But I will tell you that the immediate impact is going to be substantial when it comes to what we may or may not see in our lodges once they do open up. So...
I think we're going to have a run on lodges when they.
And it could very well be
when they let us back out on the playground. We're going to have some full lodges.
I just know that for most Masons that I know, most of us are huggers, and we're like to shake hands and greet people properly. Not being able to greet another person. If you were raised like I was, you always greeted someone. You shook their hand. You looked them in the eye. That's hard for me to not be able to someone who I love and respect as a Mason or any other man for that matter, to reach and grab their hand, look them in the eye and say, brother, I've missed you. Brother, it's so good to see you tonight. That's going to take on an entirely different meaning now for brethren. Mm-hmm. When you reach and grab that brother by your hand and you greet him the way that you should as a Mason and as a person, that's going to take on a whole new meaning for us. So it makes it essentially good for us. Now, to back up a little bit, we want to hear from you, the people who are watching us. Why do you think, do we think that Masonry is essential, and why do you feel that way?
Yeah, we've had a couple of folks say something. Let me back up to that. Worship Brother Ron Simpson said, I say it's essential as it helps with welfare and well-being of the Master Mason and the wives and children, as it says it all was good to dwell with brothers. Brother Jeff Osborne said, provides a purpose for its members and guides them to live a better life. Those are just a couple that we had back a few minutes ago.
And there was a comment made a few minutes ago too that I wanted to go back to, and maybe I can find it.
Brother Jerry Henry just said, we're definitely essential and will continue to be. The world needs pillars of strength, and we should continue to show the way. I agree.
The thing for me was...
He's looking.
I'm slow. Y'all understand. Brother Rob Simpson also stated that under this new normal and based on essentials that we would be, we may have to change the way we react to the outside world and how we operate to deal with them. Mm-hmm. Now, that's an open-ended statement for me. I do know that, brethren, for all of you Masons that are on here and for you non-Masons alike, we as Masons have a strict moral code that we should follow. We're taught to follow this moral code, and I feel that it's not always about it. Let me rephrase that. I think that we should do more to rebuild those moral laws are taught according to our ancient usages. Mm-hmm. for those that are non-Masons, there we have a book of the laws and things like that. We have a moral code. We have a code that we follow with the government, and then we mesh all that together and create who we are as Masons. Not every person in this world can be a Mason, and not everyone deserves to be a Mason. So when we say Masonry is not for everyone, we say that to not offend anybody. It's just you don't meet our qualifications to become one. Right. So that makes us essentially different than the world.
We had a brother say, "I feel it is essential." His second sentence here, I'm not in full agreement with, but everybody, this is what we're here about. We have our opinions, you have yours, and we talk about them. He says, we are unable to do our good works for our charities in times like these. I don't think we're able to do them like we used to, but I think we can still do good and we can still help. There are still avenues that we can go down to make those kind of things happen. It's just a little tougher to get the approvals. But we can still make things happen. And in our lodge, we have a provision that we have a certain amount of money set aside that we can divvy out even without having to meet for. We've got that in our bylaws.
Yeah, and we do too.
A lot of other lodges do too. And we can still divvy those funds out if we see a need. And I harken back to an old cartoon I watched with my son, Robots. Robin Williams was in it. It was a cartoon. See a need, fill a need. Mm-hmm. We're still able to go out and do that, but I do agree partially because we can't do it in the quantity that we used to do it in.
Right, absolutely. Now, that brings up to another topic about being essential. Most people in the real world don't understand that Masons contribute on an average $2.2 million every day to charity. But what's also it's a misleading thing is Shriners Hospitals operate their children's hospitals. With Scottish Rite, they have the Right Care programs, with their language, speech, and things like that. We just opened a brand new Right Care Center in Valdosta, on the campus of Valdosta State University, by the way. And in addition to that, we have our children's home that is still functioning down in Macon, Georgia. It's the crown jewel of Masonry in Georgia is that Masonic home, because there's only 2 or so left in the world that operate strictly for children. Masons contribute so much to everyday charity. We fail to remember that we do that because we just do it. I mean, Masons just do because they do. But there's also our charity starts at home. We talked about that a couple episodes ago. We have to take care of our own members first before we can branch out into the world. I mean, our members need us now probably more than any time ever. Mm-hmm. So we need to look in on them. That's what will make us essential. That is what will bring us back into this new normal. Yeah. Brotherly love has to prevail right now, probably more than any time else.
Absolutely.
It takes nothing to pick up the telephone, call someone, drop a message. Always understand that a lot of lodges, they have food pantries. Where's Brother Mike Kessler just said we just set up a new Right Care Center in Conyers. I did not know that. I do know about the one at Valdosta State, but I did not. That's good to know because that's another speech center that's been developed by Scottish Rite to provide that kind of service to those who are having trouble with speaking.
And I just posted this. If you hear of a brother in need, we talked about this a little bit, and I've talked about it with other brothers over the past few weeks. If you have a brother in need, or a widow, or a wife, or a family that's in need, brother, put together a PayPal, put together some kind of collection system, have people put money in your mailbox or something. Pull that money together, take it over to that person. There's nothing that says we have to be sitting in a lodge to pass the hat. And most of you know what pass the hat means.
And Brother Osborne said, don't forget about Amazon Smiles. And Amazon Smile, whenever you buy something off your Amazon, you can pick your charity you want to go to. You can go to Masonic Home of Georgia, or is it go Masonic? It's Masonic Home.
Yeah, it goes to the Masonic Home.
And then you have others. You can do it for Shriners Hospitals. You can do for Scottish Rite. They're all on smile.amazon.com. So anytime you put in a purchase, you go to that and it'll contribute. It's been quite a good thing here, but that still goes back to what makes us essential. Mm-hmm. What makes us essential is the fact that we are supposed to genuinely care about mankind, the betterment of the country, the betterment of our members. Our goal is to love one another. Be our brother's keeper. You know, that's what we promised to do.
Which makes us absolutely essential.
And I want to go back to talking about, we're talking about what we could do if, brothers in need. Mm-hmm. Brethren, in your local communities, and I know this because every Masonic community you go to, brethren are always doing a fundraiser for this and a fundraiser for that and this and that and the other. Whatever they may be raising money for. If you have leftover stuff from a barbecue or from your stew preparations and things like that, let your brethren if they know someone in your community that needs something to eat, let's get somebody something to eat.
Well, and a lot of, since we haven't been in lodge for a month, a lot of us, most of us, if you got stuff in your fridge at your lodge that you know is going to expire soon, go down there and get it and give it to a food bank. Give it to a family in need. Give it to someone instead of throwing it away.
Correct.
Go down there and cook up a meal and go drop it off at your local fire station or police station. And call them and tell them you're going to drop off food that you just cooked for them as a donation. There's so many ways that we can still do what we do without having to meet under that roof that we call our lodge. Because the lodge is not that building, brother. The lodge is the members in that building.
Preach it, brother. Preach it.
See, someone posted, this is the longest I've gone without someone asking me to purchase a raffle ticket.
That's funny. Well,
take that money and donate to somewhere. You got that's $100 you probably got.
We talk about Freemasonry being essential. We've always been a lot throughout our history. It's been about the circumstance. Yeah. Well, here it is again with the circumstance. The circumstance is the world is changing every single day now. What we could do March the 1st, we can't do on April the 2nd.
Right.
Okay? I don't think that there's many human beings that are still alive today that have lived through the fact that they have to be basically shut off from the world as far as the ability to see eye to eye and face to face.
But we've got this medium now they didn't have in the past.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Eye to eye.
So... But just think about what makes that essential. It's essential now that you tell your brethren what they mean to you. It's essential now that you be the pillar and you be the light for Freemasonry. If you reach out to someone during this time of need, who knows what kind of impact you could have on someone in need when the world goes back to being in its new normal. And we were talking about that earlier. We could gain members from this, and it could be a growth just because Masons being Masons and doing what they do. Yeah. What they do is being compassionate. Masons should be compassionate. They should be passionate. But most of all, they should love their country. They should love their brethren. And they're here because of the good of mankind. Mm-hmm. It's just like General Washington talked about. God was the Father to him. To not all Masons, you may have your one supreme being you believe in, whatever that may be. But understand that the concept is the same. We have to treat people with kindness. They deserve our kindness. And that's what will make us relevant. Masons have been pillars of the community. They have been the stalwarts through all things in the world. Tea Party didn't happen by accident.
Well, yeah.
You know, in Boston way back then, Paul Revere didn't take out riding just on purpose. You know, there's a purpose for us.
Yeah, and you know, Wiley and I here feel essential because we feel that we're giving something to all of the Masons and all the non-Masons, the wives and the girlfriends and others that are watching this. We love being able to share a piece of what we do every week, every few days, several hours every week with everyone. And I love the fact that this makes us feel more essential because we're getting the word out to those folks who have not really had a good view of Masonry because of what's put out on the web and what people believe as opposed to finding out the truth from the horse's mouth. So, is Masonry essential? Absolutely. How can we make our essentialness worthwhile to this world right now? You know, give me some ideas about what you can do as an individual to help. I know some of you put some stuff down, but we want to see the rest of you. What can you do to help?
You know, what are you doing to keep Masonry relevant in your lodge at this time? You know, what are you doing to help mankind? We talked last week about being the greatest servant and all of that. Well, that leads into the last thing I want to talk about tonight. And it's a pretty serious matter, Will. And you and I have talked extensively about, you know.
We talk extensively a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately. But fortunately, it works well because it tends to bode well with us. You know, we're going to lose members, as I said earlier. And we're going to lose members naturally. But unfortunately, we're going to lose members due to this virus. Yeah. And we don't know what that number is. We don't know what that statistic is going to be, but it could be huge. Yeah. So with that said, you know, for you Masons, have you as lodge leaders, those of you who are leaders of your lodges right now, have you maybe put the message out to your brethren and said, hey, is your will up to date? Are your healthcare directives in order? Are you know, have you thought about what you're going to do? Or are you going to have a Masonic rites service at the end? Those things are pretty big because most of the time, especially during this situation, the last thing you're thinking about is a healthcare directive, or the last thing you're thinking about is who's going to do my service or whatever. We're going to lose a lot of brethren. And we're going to lose a lot of brethren. And trust me, this is allergies. It's definitely not corona. If we're going to lose a lot of brethren due to this sickness. Mm-hmm. And we won't be able to perform Masonic services for these brethren now. Right. Due to the way law is mandated that 10 or less or whatever for a service. So we need to make sure that if that brother requests a service, that at the end, once we all get back on our feet and we get back functional, we can go back and in honor of that brother, courtesy to that family, and have that Masonic service. There is not a Mason alive that would not, if you can't get it done right now, we know why. So we need to put those directives in order. We need to make sure that if a brother requests something, it doesn't get just swashed up under the rug. Right. We've got to be able to give the Masonic last rites to our brethren. You all know, if you've ever seen a Lodge of Sorrow open, you know the words and why we are there to open that Lodge of Sorrow. And it doesn't say that we have to do it right there over the graveside. there's no one going to get mad at you if you have to postpone this thing for 4 months because of this pandemic going on in this world.
Well, it's a right a brother gets. So even if it's performed later, it's still something that he deserves and should receive.
And Brother Kessler, hit the nail on the head. Let your lodge know now, prior to you getting sick. What do you tell them? Let the secretary know. He'll put it in his notes. I think there's a section in Granby now. I'm not sure, but there should be. Does this brother want Masonic rights?
Secretary.
But what I'm saying, you need to make sure that as a lodge leader and as a brother who's not a lodge, let your lodge know and let your leaders know, if something happens to me, this is what I want. Yeah. That way it takes the pressure off of your spouse or significant other to have to deal with that part while they're...
Well, but the other thing is, too, is you absolutely have to let your spouse or your family know
yes.
as well. You can't just let your lodge know, because then your lodge goes up to the family members and says, he wanted a Masonic funeral, and they say, whoa, we didn't know about that, and we don't want to do that. So you got to make sure the people that need to know, your family and your lodge. It's just good to be able to go out and do that for a brother. I know it's a sad thing to do, but it's our right as Masons to have that if we want it. And so you need to make sure that you've got it written somewhere. And I think in Georgia we actually have a form that can be filled out.
Yeah, and if not, your lodge can create that. I mean, it's nothing to say that when you're doing an information sheet, the secretary, if he wants to collect that information, and hopefully by the end of the month, what I'm being told is that'll be on there at the end of the month. And Brother Moses is right. Freemasonry is going to be forced to be changed because of this pandemic. But America shines the brightest in times like these. If you've ever seen Right Worship Brother Moses' presentation, you would understand how volunteerism and heroism shines the brightest when America is really struggling. But there are a lot of us that are trying to initiate thinking. We want brethren to think. You've got all this time, and it's not about learning the lectures. We want you to learn the lectures. We want you to learn these things.
He's trying to read. He can't read and talk at the same time.
No. But you're right. Brother Kessler is right. Show them in writing.
Yeah. We
need to do that. We need to make sure that we need to inform each other of the directives that we need to take. There's some brethren out there, we're all in panic mode right now, and we're reactionary right now. Be proactive and establish these directives. My wife personally knows I got a healthcare directive, what my will states, how things are supposed to be situated. Something happens to me, am I DNR or am I not? She knows I want a Masonic service. I want that for her. Because as Masons, we're taught that we should live our lives to be respected and die regretted. It's not about when you die or when you were born and when you die. It's the dash. The dash in between is what makes who you are. Yep. I don't know if folks have heard about the dash, and there's a nice lecture that goes along with the dash, but it's that space in between. What impact have you had on people in your lives? You, as a Mason, your number one goal should always be to live respected and die regretted. Yeah. But that's how you should live as a human being, Will. Yeah. We should all live that way. So we want you to be able to think about things that aren't typically put out in a forum like this. People we're trying to give happiness and promote happiness and the goodness of all, but there's some tough things. There are some tough decisions people have to make in the coming weeks.
Well, and if you know the two of us, we don't shy away from those tough things. We want to get them out there because we want to get over them and through them. We don't want to push them to the side because they're things that have to be talked about, brother. And we we're only here for a short amount of time. We've got to make the most of it. But when we do pass, we need to make sure that those that we leave behind are taken care of. And the one thing that we get to leave with is knowing that we get to have a Masonic service, and our brethren will be standing there beside our lifeless body, leading us presenting us to the I can't even think now, the Great Lodge in the sky.
So we don't mind talking about the tough issues.
Absolutely
because Lord knows we hear from you, brethren. We love to hear from all of you. As we get off here tonight and we close up our latest episode, please take this into consideration. We need to continue to love our flag. We need to love our country. No matter how bad things get here, we still live in the greatest country in the world. And we also need to understand that if you pass away as a Mason, and you don't let your lodge or your brother know that you'd like, or your spouse know that you like a Masonic service, that service also, as bad as this sounds, it could be the only time someone ever sees what a Mason does.
Yeah.
And, we promised the night that we got our apron lecture what would happen. We all Masons who have heard that apron lecture or have read it somewhere, what that white apron means to you, and it should mean to you. And you also know that what should happen at the end, and by our code, we can't conduct that funeral. Like Worship Mike says, we can't conduct that funeral unless it's requested by the brother. The family can't request it after the fact.
Right.
It has to be, in the state of Georgia, has to be requested by the brother. And they have to make that known. So, brethren, please help us pass those words along to your members. Continue to try to create Zoom, Team, Amazon, whatever. On the Grandview, you can look under Upon My Death is the Master Mason. It's on the Master Mason's resource page in Grandview. Yeah. So you can look at those things and figure all of that out. But please help us pass these words. Pass these words along. And I hope that you guys get some little something out of our podcast every week. And, I understand that. And see, Brother VL said that his father's Masonic funeral was his introduction to Freemasonry.
That's awesome.
Now that is cool.
Brother, one thing to remember real big, when you're having these video conferences with your brethren, remember what you can and cannot talk about. I think the Grand Master of New York put out something today about being very careful trying to conduct lodge business over these, because a lot of them are insecure. And he told everyone to, I don't remember the exact verbiage, but it was something of, make sure that it's encrypted, make sure that you have passwords on, make sure it's secure before you do things. Brethren, here in Georgia right now, we can't do any of that kind of stuff, but you can meet with your brethren. Just make sure you're very careful about what you talk about, because you never know. You never, ever know who could be what they call a man-in-the-middle attack and watching you or listening to you. And that person that's listening to you, it may be the only time he's seen anything about Masonry. So always think, just like those of us with Masonic plates on our cars, when we drive down the road and someone aggravates us, you don't yell something out the window at them. You don't throw something at them, because you got to remember that may be the only time the person that's still behind you has seen a Mason. And he'll remember how you acted. That's
right. So watch your road rage. Point of clarification that in Georgia a family can request it.
Oh.
That I learn something new every day too. One thing Will and I are always going to be is we're going to tell you we're not experts. We try to base our things on things we've read. Try to study our Masonic code. We don't know it the well as some that we know.
Yeah.
Only the Grand Master in Georgia can interpret that book. So, but with a little common sense, you can figure out the gist of what it's trying to tell you. So. But brethren, just understand, we're trying to let you think, cause you to think, because right now we're shut in, and we're basically confined. That this is it for us for a while. Remember what we said about the getting your affairs in order. All people should have their affairs in order, in case, because you never know when something tragic may happen. Share that information with your spouse, your significant other, whatever, your confidant, your close person, your power of attorney, whatever that might be. But most of all, share it with someone. Understand that this tragic event is now, it looks like, headed towards its peak. We got 10, 14 days of it peaking. And then hopefully, and I'm no doctor, don't work for the CDC or anything of that nature, but from, I see the numbers, all of you see the numbers, we all see the numbers every day, because that's the only thing we see every day. That's why we want to come in this forum, to try to break up some of that monotony. Yeah, we know that we're going to talk about some of the things related, because it relates to us as Masons. And what we want to do is try to look at it from a different perspective. The numbers, obviously, we don't know what's the truth, what's not the truth. We just know there's going to be a lot of people lose their lives. We know our hospital systems around the world are going to be overran. Yep. Vaccines take usually a year or so to produce, but by then it's like the flu. It's got different strains that come out, so now they have to always improve those things. It creates another run of other issues. Yeah. But understand that we will persevere as Masons. We will persevere as a country through all of these things that are going on right now. The United States of America will be at the forefront of the cure for this thing, or at least the vaccine for it. With most viruses, there's never a cure, but you can get a vaccine for sure. God bless those scientists that are working day and night around the world to try to come up with something. We're very appreciative of those people, because they're working nonstop. So anyway,
brother, remember, as we wrap this up, remember, you as a Mason still have to be that light. You absolutely have to be that light in this dark time. Call your brethren, call your older members of the lodge, call your wives, your widows. Well, don't call your wives. Hopefully you wake up next to them, unless she sent you to another room already. And I'm sure some of you that's happened to. But
let me call mine right now.
Remember all those that are sick and in distress, need our help. We still have the ability to help them. We still have the ability to help others. We still have the abilities to help ourselves. For all of you who are furloughed or out of a job right now, we will keep you in our thoughts and prayers. Please remember our military, first responders, people working in grocery stores, our truckers, our medical staffs, nurses, all of those that are essential to keeping us alive and well, because without them, we wouldn't get to do what we want to do. And that's, for us right now, visiting with our brethren.
Point of order. Just said that the kids will return to the Masonic home tomorrow from Shelman's Bluff, but the campus is secure, which means no visitors. I would like to know, because someone said at our last cast that they were going to start a collection to get Worship Brother Will a chair. Next week he'll be sitting on a 5-gallon bucket. So anyway, this is how this works. But anyway, we want to let you all know that, if change is to be, it's going to have to be up to you, the individual. It's like the old saying, if it's to be, it's up to me. I hear that quite often. GoFundMe takes 10%. That's why we never do a GoFundMe page. But anyway, if it's up to be, Mo, we love you. And if there's anything we do with you, let us know. But anyway, if changes are to happen in this world, it's up to us to make sure those things happen. We're Masons. We are the pillars. We are the backbone. We are the people who don't mind to stand and fight the good fight. Yeah. Masonry is worth all it has been and all it ever will be. History shows that. Yeah. That wherever greatness happens, there's usually some Mason somewhere involved with it. So anyway, we're trying to determine what we want to talk about in our next couple of episodes. We're going to try to have 2 topics out at once. We're working on it right now.
Well, not right now. We're doing a live.
No, I'm already thinking about next time.
Brethren,
we love you.
Brethren and ladies and guests, we've enjoyed all of you joining us tonight. Please send your feedback. We're looking for constructive criticism. We're looking for thoughts, ideas, anything. We want to do this for you. We get enjoyment out of it just being able to talk. The 2 of us can sit and talk for hours at the house, and that drives Michelle crazy. So we want to be able to have something to present to you, the audience, that you can get something out of. So please give us your feedback. We've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, we got Twitter, we got email.
Those that know us personally, call us, leave us a message personally.
Absolutely.
I mean, those of you who have our emails, personal stuff, send us what you want us to talk about, and we'll try to decide whether or not that's lodge appropriate, and if it's not, then not to share in this kind of a forum. But somebody asked me to talk about the cardinal virtues or talk about being honest. I don't know if people are ready for that kind of conversation in this forum yet. But anyway, please send us your ideas, your thoughts, your criticisms. We can handle it all. And remember, these opinions are just ours. And
we've learned stuff tonight. The stuff that's in the text and in the live chat, we actually learned a couple things tonight, which we want to do out of this as well. So it's not just a one-way street. Brethren, remember to please click subscribe if you haven't. Click the notification bell so we put up new episodes coming up. You'll get that notification. When we go live, you'll get that notification. You'll see it on Facebook. Please share it to others. We appreciate everyone who has shared it. We have grown phenomenally from you putting the word out. So we thank all of you. We love you all, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next week.
Good night.
Next week. 50 minutes. 50 minutes.
Hey, quit talking. We're still live.